gazing into a literal black mirror. As you stare into the blackness, into the interminable abyss, someone or something stares back into you.
We interrupt your programming to bring this urgent message. The diagnosing of depression as a form of illness is an insidious form of deception. The psychiatric profession's insistence on labeling individuals who experience anxiety and depression as disordered is offensive and unacceptable. The use of the word disorder implies that there is order. However, there's nothing ordered about the society in which we live. Placing the label of disorder on someone who experiences feelings of depression and anxiety is akin to blaming the victim. The medical profession seems to be implying that the world in which we live is so perfect and ordered that any kind of feelings of dissatisfaction or discontent indicates some form of deficiency within the individual. In other words, if you are experiencing these feelings of sadness, angst, and depression, then you must be defective. This is absurd. Society is not ordered. Most people are unable to earn enough money to adequately clothe, shelter, and feed themselves. No matter the environment, the inability to acquire adequate resources naturally induces feelings of anxiety and depression. This is a natural and perfectly healthy response to unsatisfactory circumstances or to environmental conditions that threaten any organism's survival. To label this a disorder is not only irresponsible, it is immoral. Emotions evolved for a specific purpose. Just as tactile and physical sensibilities evolved to alert the organism of the presence of damaging stimuli that could cause injury or death to the body's tissue, so too did evolution install an early warning system designed to alert the organism to the presence of something in the environment that was not healthy or conducive to its survival. With the emergence of the mammalian brain came the ability to experience emotions. The primary purpose of these feelings of depression and anxiety are to alert human beings that something in their environment needs to be altered or changed, or that the organism needs to attend to something about itself that needs to be strengthened or modified to respond optimally to the adverse environmental conditions. Perhaps the most offensive aspect of diagnosing people who experience anxiety and depression with a disorder is that the medical profession profits from the psychotropic drugs they prescribe that are supposed to mask the symptoms of depression and anxiety. Notice they do not offer a cure to this supposed affliction. This response is completely illogical and absurd. The medical establishment is saying, here is a panacea or a medication that will numb the feelings of depression and anxiety that you have, so that you can continue to exist and function within the horrible societal conditions that we have thrust upon you. Of course, you will incur an expense for this medication, which ironically further adds to your inability to support yourself within this society. It is society that is disordered. The humans of which it is composed are merely having a healthy response to the unjust conditions in which they have been immersed. The ingestion of pharmacological interventions to interfere with these natural emotional responses is equivalent to placing one's hand on a flame or a hot stove, and rather than removing one's hand, he takes a painkiller to numb the sensation while the flesh and bones continue to burn. The logical response would be to remove the hand from the flame. The analogy should be clear. It is absurd to take medications so that one does not have to feel the normal healthy emotions that arise from being unable to provide for oneself. The appropriate action is to remove oneself from the environment. If this is not possible, then radical forms of environmental change are necessary to rectify these adverse environmental conditions. We live in a time of universal oppression wherein 1% of the population owns or controls the vast majority of the world's resources and wealth, while the remaining 99% is forced to compete for the remaining scraps. Slavery never ended. It has just been reformed and disguised. Where the slave owners were once burdened with the expense of clothing, feeding, and housing their slaves, the system now allows for its slaves to choose their own form of servitude, in exchange for which they receive a meager wage. From this, they must now pay back to their owners the cost of their own food, clothing, and shelter. The inability to earn enough money to survive, or having to work multiple jobs to make ends meet, causes great stress. Economic troubles often lead to other environmental stressors, acrimony in families, and dissolution of intimate relationships, all of which exacerbate feelings of anxiety and depression. In truth, any individual who did not experience anxiety and depression under such conditions would be disordered. We are all slaves. The whip and chains have just been replaced by pharmaceutical conformity. We are conditioned to believe that depressed individuals have some form of deficiency in thinking that biases them towards negative evaluations of the world. The truth of the matter is that these supposed depressed individuals have a more realistic perspective of the world than their non-depressed counterparts. Studies have demonstrated that depressed individuals actually have a more accurate assessment of the world, whereas non-depressed individuals tend to exhibit a clear bias towards perceiving the world positively. This is the essence of depressive realism. The optimist believes that we live in the best of all possible worlds. The pessimist fears that this may be true. Here in Dark City, we strive to be realists, refusing to be pigeonholed within the false dichotomy of optimist or pessimist. I am a realist. I urge everyone to be one as well. Whereas most either see the glass as half full or half empty, I demand to know what is in the glass. What exactly are they trying to get me to drink?
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
We look forward to seeing you soon. Like a labyrinth, the Black Mirror is a rabbit hole down which you are forever tumbling and from which you may never return, and your self-image will be remade into whatever form the dwellers within the darkness of the Black Mirror want you to be.
And start asking the right fucking questions.